Most romance anime spend 12 episodes building to the moment someone finally says, I love you. This one opens with them saying it over and over again. That's the whole premise. Childhood friends Yukiya Asagi and Miku Sakura invented a game in 6th grade. They take turns saying, I love you. And the first one to blush, get flustered, or crack loses. 4 years later, in high school, they are still playing. And here is the thing that got me. A lot of anime in this genre avoid those three words entirely until the very last episode. They dance around it, they imply it, they let the tension build for 12 episodes, and then finally say it. This show does the opposite. It overuses the phrase on purpose, says it constantly, until the words themselves start to mean something different than they should, or maybe exactly what they should, depending on how you look at it. That inversion is what made me curious. Let's see if the show earns it. If you have already watched further, no spoilers please. But I want to know in the comments, does the game actually break down or does the show keep the status quo longer than it should? And when I say watch, I mean read. So if you read it, please don't spoil. The visual style hooked me before I even knew what the show was about. The characters look good, the animation is clean, and the title told me exactly what I was getting into, which, for a slice of life romance, is actually a feature rather than a bug. You're not being tricked into anything. And the premise itself, first to blush loses, is simple enough to work immediately. I didn't need the episode to prove it before I bought in. What I needed to see was whether it would get boring after episode 1. It didn't. So far, so good. The interesting thing about the game is what it's actually doing underneath the surface. These two have been saying I love you to each other since 6th grade. By now, the phrase should be completely empty, stripped of meaning through sheer repetition. But it isn't. And you can feel that it isn't. Which means the game stopped being a game at some point and became something else. Something neither of them is ready to name yet. The escalation is where the episode finds its rhythm. Different tones, sudden close-up confessions, pushing situations just past the comfortable limit to see what happens. And the moment that actually made me laugh, Asagi putting his hand over Miku and then immediately getting flustered by how close they suddenly are. It backfired completely. He pushed the boundary and then discovered he wasn't ready for what was on the other side of it. That's the dynamic in one scene. They're both exploring limits neither of them fully understands yet. Like a game where you keep moving forward until you hit a wall you didn't know was there. And what surprised me is that it didn't feel forced. Even the parts that were technically forced, them manufacturing situations to make the other crack, felt natural. The chemistry read as a real from episode 1, which is not something I expected to say this early. The show did its job without making it feel like work. The outside perspective comes mostly from Asagi's family, his sister clocking that they are still going at it, his mother openly enjoying watching it play out, his father taking the patient approach of just wait and see how it goes, and the parents is read is actually the most interesting one, because they are watching two young people do something that probably looks familiar from a distance. You get the sense they've seen this before, maybe in themselves, maybe in other people, and they know exactly where it's going, even if Yukiya and Miku don't. The show puts both perspectives in front of you at full volume. From the outside, harmless, slightly weird, clearly unresolved. From the inside, high stakes, carefully managed, emotionally loaded. And it doesn't underline the contrast subtly. It practically puts it in front of your face, which works for a first episode. You need to feel both sides clearly before the show can start doing more nuanced things with them. Yukiya feels like the relatable protagonist this genre needs. A bit shy underneath the competitive front, trying to look composed, while his internal monologue is full of overthinking. The moment where he goes from confident to embarrassed and back again landed as genuinely funny rather than cringe. And compared to some protagonists in this genre, I'm not going to name names, but the rental girlfriend exists. He's already more likable in one episode than some get in an entire season. Miku is doing something slightly different. She's playing the game, but she's also using the game. Her character already said it herself. This isn't just a game to her. She's been dropping hints in the only language available to someone in her position, saying I love you over and over, hoping that at some point he hears the version she actually means, not the game version. Whether that's something most viewers will explicitly clock or just feel, I think the show is banking on you feeling it, and I think it works. The episode ends with the status quo intact. No loss, no confession, no movement. And for episode 1, that's exactly right. But here is what I'm genuinely uncertain about going forward. The premise is also the trap. If the show spends 12 episodes showing us different environments, festivals, school, trips, rainy days, late evenings, with the same game playing out in each one, it's going to get repetitive. The novelty of they keep saying I love you has a shelf life. What would push this above the genre average? Backstory. Something deeper underneath. Maybe Miku's family situation, something that explains why this game specifically became the language they chose, something that makes the comedy land on top of actual weight rather than just being charming. Does this show want to do that? Based on the title alone, I'm skeptical. It might just want to be A to B, childhood friends, game, eventual confession, and do that cleanly and enjoyably without adding a C. And honestly, that might be fine. Not every show needs to be wash it all away. Sometimes you just want something to put on and decompress with. This might be that show. And I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't feel like it's wasting what it has. So after episode 1, I'm in, but carefully. The premise works, the chemistry is there, the characters are likable, the visual style does its job, and the central irony that saying I love you constantly is what lets them avoid saying it for real is genuinely interesting if the show commits to unpacking it. Whether it does that or whether it just stays in the game loop for 12 episodes is what's going to decide how this one lands. What do you think? Is the show building towards something or is the game the whole thing? Drop it in the comments. And if there is another romance anime with concept this specific that you think pulls it off better, tell me what it is. I'm looking for the next one. See you in episode